In this video series, we are watching how to use Tableau to visualize data and create narratives. In our last session, we saw how we can create a simple pivot table using Tableau. We are going to move on to our next chart in the list of 24 base charts that Tableau provides. This time, we are going to create what is called a heat map. Heat map essentially shows in form of color uh, different measures like sales, profit, etc. So we'll create this in a new sheet. So this is the place where you can create a new sheet. And in this new sheet, we are going to create the heat map. So let us create a heat map of category versus sales. We created a pivot table earlier, and when we create a heat map, we'll see the difference between the two. So let's take sales as we did in last time. We have sales in our columns and category in our rows. Again, by default, it will give me a bar chart. But at this point of time, we are not making a bar chart. We are making a heat map. So we'll click over here. Now you'll notice that once we have this, some of these charts become activated and some of these charts are still deactivated. This is because given the fact that we have one dimension and one measure, this category is a dimension, sales the measure. Tableau is telling me which charts we can create with this combination of dimension and measures. The ones that are grayed out cannot be created with this combination of dimension and measure. We'll understand these in greater details in our future videos. So we'll move to the heat map over here, and you'll see that the sum of sales over here is now moved to this size, which means that the size of the boxes indicate the sales that is happening. Now, since most of the sales are in a similar range, the sizes look similar, but actually they are different because actual sales are different. Now, if we want to make this a little more prominent, we can increase the size like this or reduce it like this. However, this will not make a lot of difference because anyway, the sales are very similar. If we want, we can use color instead of size to indicate the sales. In that situation, we can take out the sales from here and put sales in the color. So now it becomes little more visible because the color gradient is in a better way, a better position to describe the difference in sales. And it shows that the sales of technology is actually the highest compared to the sales of furniture. If I want, I can make these colors different. For example, I can change this color to some other range. For example, let's say red, green, diverging, in which case the sales of the category that is the lowest will be shown like this. Now, since the sales are very similar, let us not go for category. Instead, we'll go to a slightly lower level, which is a subcategory, which probably will be able to depict the sizes of the boxes a little better. So I'll remove the category over here and instead replace it. And let me also remove the sales over here. Instead of category-wise sales and category-wise sales, let us take subcategory-wise sales. We'll take subcategory in the rows You have a list of subcategories. These subcategories are under categories. Now we don't know which subcategory is under which category from this. Later on, we'll see how this can be combined. But as of now, let us concentrate on the subcategories and we'll take the sales uh, over in the column. By default, it gives me a bar chart again, but convert that to heat map. And now you see things are much clearer where it is showing the size of the square as the sales. And we can clearly see that chairs, phones, these are the subcategories where the sales is the highest, and art or fasteners or labels, this is where the sales is the lowest. Now that we have been able to highlight the sales by the size of the boxes, we have another attribute of the box, which is the color available for us to depict some other measure. It's important to understand this. We need to understand in any visualization how many attributes a chart can accommodate. More attributes a chart can accommodate, we are able to accommodate more measures. So now that the color attribute is available to us, let us see what we can do with color. Let us use profit and let color indicate profit. So what we are going to do is we are going to put color profit into this color palette. And now you see a very interesting chart comes out where the color is indicating the profit and the size of the bubble is indicating, size of the box is indicating the sales. If we want to change the color now, because the color is indicating profit, so maybe we want to put it as red green divergence, because red will mean less profit, green will mean more profit. I can go to color over here, go to the edit color and change this to a red green divergence. And now you see a good heat map has come up, which shows that if the color is towards the red side, that means it is uh, that subcategory is making less profit. And if you hover around, you see that actually tables is making a loss, as opposed to something like phones, where the sales is also high as well as profit is high. On the other hand, chairs, even though the sales is very similar to that of phones, the profit is less. So this is how we start to get insights from the data. Till now, we're just summarizing the data, but we did not get insight. Now the data is coming live. We are able to visualize certain insights. In this particular case, we can visualize the tables, so the sales are reasonable, they are actually not profitable. That means they're not making much profit. Let us now move to the next chart, which is a highlighted table. Before we do that, let's name this sheet so that uh, we are not confused later on with the name. And we'll also name the sheet over here, say sales and profit. Okay, have this name this sheet also as sales and profit. Let us now move on to the next chart, which is highlighted table. This is similar to the table that we created. The difference is that here the table will have a color and the color will indicate some measure. So let us go back to our category and sales. make this as highlighted table. Now you can see the same table that we created here. It is shown over here, and it is showing the amount of sales in color. Previously, I had to judge by number which category is being sold the highest, which is not a not an obvious one to visualize. Whereas here, I could clearly visualize that technology sales is the highest. I could have used the colors for denoting some other dimension, some other measure like profit. Let us do that and let's see whether it makes sense. So here you see that in the palette, you have sales both in the color as well as the text, because sales is coming in numbers as well as the color is indicating sales. Now suppose I remove the sales from the color and put profit in the color, and what will happen is that the color will now indicate the profit. But this may not be a very good table. It's because while the number is indicating sales, the color is indicating some other measure, and this might confuse the viewer. So while this particular chart, it is possible to accommodate two measures. This is not a very recommended chart uh, to offer to the viewer. It is better to stick to sales indicating. Let us name this sheet also. We have successfully created three separate charts now. We'll look at the map chart in our next video. Map is actually a very interesting chart that Tableau offers, and that will require little detailed level of discussion. For this video, we will go to the pie chart. Most of us know what a pie chart is. Most of us probably created pie chart in Excel. Similarly, we can create pie chart in Tableau also. However, please note that pie chart is not a recommended chart for analysis purposes. It may be a good chart for uh, for a brochure or similar kind of marketing collaterals. But when you are doing an internal business analysis, pie chart is not a very recommended chart because human eye is not very good at differentiating the angles. Hence, if there are two categories having almost same measure in terms of values, it is difficult to differentiate that to a pie chart. Later on, we'll see a bar chart or a column chart is much better in differentiating this. Uh, One case where pie chart can be useful is where you have one dominant category which you want to highlight, and you want to show the share of a measure for that category, and all other categories is not that important in terms of the share of the measure. So those cases pie chart may be useful, but otherwise it is recommended to avoid pie chart. Uh, More so, you should never use three-dimensional pie chart, because three-dimensional pie chart further confuses the viewer, because the angle that is towards the viewer seems to be bigger than the angle that is away from the viewer. In fact, any three-dimensional chart is not good for business analysis, even if that may look beautiful in terms of the picturization of the chart. So picturization of the chart is not always the most important thing. You need to ensure that the chart is able to bring out the insight properly. Let us make the pie chart. Now, at this point of time, if I ask you how many dimensions and measures a pie chart can accommodate, I'm sure you will say that a pie chart can accommodate only one dimension and one measure. There are modified form of pie charts like sunburst chart, which can accommodate more number of dimensions. But a simple pie chart, which we use most of the time, that can accommodate only one dimension. So let us take one dimension, which is category, which you have taken so far, and the measure we take as sales, and take this as a pie chart. Now you can see that a simple pie chart is formed. Now this is too small, so we can make this entire view and a bigger pie chart. Now let's say I want to also show the um, the the value of sales. I can take the sales into the label and to show me the value of sales. I'm sure you must be wondering that what if I want to make this a percentage, and that's what we normally do when you depict a pie chart. Now this is here again where you need to use Tableau as a configurable product where you may not have a direct option like right click and convert it to a percentage, but you have to do some quick calculation on the measured sales. How do I do that? Go to sales, and here you have something called quick table calculation. We'll be using this particular feature in various other charts as well for various other purposes. But as of now, you can see that we want to show a percentage. So instead of showing this as an absolute value, I can show this as a percent of total. If I show this as a percent of total, I can see the percentages coming here. Now again, I don't want to see the decimals because all I need is to have an idea about what is the percentage of sale. I don't need to be accurate up to 3 places of decimal. I want to remove these 3 places of decimal. In order to do that, what we'll do is we'll go over here and we have format. And in the format, right now it is a number. Instead of number, we'll change this to percentage. And we don't want the decimal places. So here you go. So we have the percentages of sales for these three categories shown in percentages. Now, you may also want to know what are the categories as it's not very apparent from the colors. There are two ways of doing this. One is here you have a legend. Once you hide this show me, you can see the legend. In fact, there are two legends. One is sum of sales and the other is the category. The sum of sales is not relevant for us, this particular chart. So I can go and hide this card. So there are two places of hiding the card. You can hide it from here, or I can also go and hide the card from here. Okay, so I can hide the size legend. So let's go that way. Now I can leave it over here, but as a good practice for any chart, you should always have all the information of the chart as close to the chart as possible. So the viewer doesn't have to wander around and find out the information. So let's see if I can bring this category information instead of as a legend somewhere close to the chart. Now what can I do? One thing I can do is see if I can use the names of the category as a label. So I will take the names of the label, the names of the category into the label, and I can see that the names of categories has come over here along with the percentages. Now I don't need this digit anymore, and you can have this. One minor adjustment I may want to do, I may want to bring the name of the label first and then the percentage. What I can do is I can go to label, and when I go to the text, I can go to this edit, and you see here that the first is the percentage and then is the category. So I do the reverse, I take this away, put it over here, and here you go. The name of the category is first, and below that shows the percentage. So you have created a very simple pie chart. Remember to save your sheet. We know how to save the sheet. You can just save it to Tableau Public. You already have saved it earlier. It will override the existing file. And then we can download it from Tableau. To sign in again, so this is publishing in the Tableau Public, the new charts that we have created. We missed to name this. So let's name this sales by category. Since we have made a change, we need to save it again. It's got saved. If you want to download the file, go to edit, and from the edit, you have to download it here. Now, if you notice that the same sheets that we have created is now available in Tableau Public, and you can continue doing work in Tableau Public as well instead of Tableau Desktop.